Well, greetings gamers. This is Dr. Ayleen, the Gaming Doc, and this is your place and your space to laugh, to chat, to chill, to hang out, to take a moment, to take a break, to take a breath, and say it is Tuesday, and not just any Tuesday, it is Tuesday. Your life follows your thoughts, or your life follows your choices. So where are your choices taking you? And let's take a look at our medalists, because just like the Olympics, we consider those who come in first. Now, everybody's a winner. Everybody who shows up is a champion. But we have those who are above. And we have our gold medalist, Iron Eagle, hashtag Doxagoomer. Yes, my Eagle of Iron coming in for the gold medal. Bloodella is our silver medalist, who is coming in, and Jack Superman 9000. Well, not quite first, sweetie, but you are among our medalists. You are the bronze medalist. Therefore, just like at the Olympics, take your places on your risers. Wrap yourself in your national flags as we play your national anthems. Low-key human! Well, hello there. How are you, my dear? Taking 1 week off. I'm chilling. Chill away, my love. You deserve to chill. And Fire Nutter, hello. Now, New York, especially Staten Island, is not as hot as it normally is, so we're calling it a win. Oh my goodness, hashtag, we're making it a thing. We are making it a thing. Iron Eagle, fist bump, high five. And it is, I mean, it's like hashtag MP920. Hey girl, hey. Let's see, I believe Michael, right? And Sumasuki. Hi. Jack Superman, you're going to France soon. Amazing. Oh my gosh. France is definitely on my list of places that I definitely want to see. Where are you going? What you going to be doing? Inquiring minds want to know. Well, wish me luck tonight. Fist bump, high five for luck. First Girl Scout meeting. Oh my goodness gracious, great balls of fire. The first Girl Scout meeting of the year. Oh, I do remember those days. Hey, you don't need luck, my dear. You have experience, you have tenacity, you have humor, and you have that leadership quality. It's going to be awesome. I'm on my 2nd year of service, working on my 3rd. Wow. I mean, it feels like you've been doing this forever, which, as someone who has held leadership positions for organizations like this, it does feel like it's been forever. Sergeant Electra! Hey! How are you, my dear? Week 2 has started, and I'm so happy. I finally started private voice lessons, and I am in love with the songs I have to sing for the studio class. Nice. I hate it when I sleep funny on my shoulder. It feels so tight. Yeah, it's amazing that our body does all kinds of things when we're asleep. And you wake up and it's like, oh, wait a minute, everything hurts, just from positioning. One of the things you can do one of the things that I suggested to my patient was either using pillows or even rolling up other blankets to kind of brace yourself. Like, if you usually sleep on your side, what you can do is take like a blanket or a pillow and you put it behind your back, and for some reason, even with that little bit of pressure, your body has a tendency to acknowledge it, and therefore you won't roll quite as much. So definitely take care of that. Just bought a $90 million in-game helicopter. Woo, 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 woo. On the Clone Army Fort Defense Tycoon game on Roblox. And the good news is it can only get cheaper here onwards. Well, when you spend $90 million for something, you know what? I totally agree. It can only get cheaper from there. I need to post the photo of my pins I got for my 2 years of service and my outstanding leader pin. Well, of course, because you're an outstanding leader. And quite honestly, very few people want that job, and even fewer can be good at it. And you are both, which is absolutely awesome. So. Another day, another wonderful experience here in Staten Island. I love the buses here. I absolutely love the buses here. I mean, it is just so cool. It's like, they show up when they're supposed to, and there's tons of them, and they take you places, and you sit, and it's very pleasant. And I love the subway. I saw my first subway rat. Yes! I guess that makes me an official New Yorker because, well, it was over the weekend. I was in Manhattan, and I came back very, very, very late. Which I am actually getting used to the idea of taking like the subway and the ferry at night, and it's, I'm cool with that. But I saw my first subway rat. It wasn't as big as I kind of always heard about, but I mean, it was a respectable size rat, and it was like scurrying along, and I'm like, hey, have a good night. I love it, yes. Doc, I'm not planning on streaming on Twitch anymore. Really? Going to another streaming web that I will be going to? Well, Sergeant Electra. Another streams format's gain is Twitch's loss, and whatever it is you choose to do, please let us know so we can promote you. And if you already have like your little stream name or whatever, all that stuff, we will definitely be very happy to promote that. And please also put it into the promote yourself section. And best of luck, my dear. I'm so excited for you. It's always as someone who uprooted from one state to move across country into another, there's something very exciting about a new opportunity. It's going to be on Kick. Fist bump, high five. Now, will you be Sergeant Electra on Kick? Inquiring minds want to know. I can definitely come and visit you there. Happy to. And you go and make Kick that much better because you just being on it will. And, I'm very happy for you. It is always wonderful to branch out into new things and, and see what works and explore, have fun. Oh, you're going to do great. You're going to do absolutely great. I sleep on my 3 pillows, otherwise I snore like heck and woken up. It's rewarding to grow a bond with these girls, yes, and be almost like their cool aunties, since I don't have a daughter to have in the troop. That is true. How's the little one, Electra? It's going to be very good. It's going to be okay, so it will be this on that. We definitely will acknowledge that. No problemo. And let us know when you're starting. Have you already started streaming over there? But, and you know what? For everybody who, because things are calming down quite a bit. But I know at first there were a lot of very, dynamic reactions on both sides. Now, what I believe and what I feel, competition is key. It's always good to have competition because when, you're the only kid on the playground, everybody's got to kind of, deal with you. But, if there's a good, healthy competition going on, everybody wants to up their game. And frankly, I think that it is about, everybody's got to do what's right for them, especially those who want to treat this as a business. Who said that, you can't try out other platforms? And I wish you nothing but the absolute best, my dear. And I know you're going to kick butt, and I will definitely be checking you out over there. Not yet, but Magster has, if I remember. Nice. Jimathena! Hello. How are you? How are you doing, my dear? What is up? What is happening? I hope you are walking gently with the world, and the world is walking gently with you. What is going on? How's Magster? He's good. Good to know. Please tell him we all said hi. I actually just registered a girl that I've watched grow up. Oh, Bladella, that is so cool. She's really excited to start her journey with me. I'm excited to have her and get to know her. I worked with her mom and with her mom's mom at a restaurant when I was a teenager. Oh my goodness gracious. Multi-generational stuff. And it really is when you work with, youth, any type of youth organization, whether it's Scouts, whether it's camps, campfire. I think they've got campfire boys now. It used to be campfire girls. 4-H, like religious youth groups. Whenever you have a chance to be able to do that, you make a difference. Just the same as when you go and maybe read to the elderly, or go and sing Christmas carols at an old folks home, or something like that. Volunteer to support elders, because sometimes they just want somebody who will sit there and listen to them. You cannot be too young or too old to have somebody bring light in your life. And y'all are like a whole bunch of sparklers, so you got a lot of light to share. A little bit stressed yourself. Oh, hydrate. We've got to hydrate, and we've got an ad hat. You know what, Sergeant Electra? In celebration of your announcement, I'm going to add 2 hats. Okay, we are adding 2 hats here. Let's see. What hat do we want to add? Add a hat, add a hat, add a hat, hat. We will add, let's see. What do we want to add? Okay, let's see if we can get this order. We're going to add the patty cap. Yay, we've got a patty cap. And we are adding the crown, because our Sergeant Electra is going off and taking over a new kingdom. Let's see. There we go. Purple one in front. And we've got a request for the bunny ears. Awesome. Thank you. Abso-freaking-lutely. You know what, sweetie? Thank you. Thank you for inviting us on this new adventure of yours. What's wrong with my ear? Thank you for inviting us on this new adventure. Thank you for letting us know that this is something that you're doing. Because that's the thing, It's bothersome. Perfect. Oh, what is wrong with my ear? Behave. Anyway, because that's a part of what we are here. This is your place and your space. And maybe into this space you need to bring something you're excited about that you want to share. Maybe into this space you need to bring something that's weighing on your body, your mind, or your spirit. Maybe it's into this space where you want to be able to be there for others. And you want to, you want to be in service. And to be there just in case somebody may be going through a tough time. That's what this space is, and you guys make it absolutely awesome. I'm excited for this year. The girls, since they are all juniors, junior scouts, I've got a picture somewhere of me in my old junior scout uniform. Can do so much more than they could. We actually get to take them horseback riding. Horseback riding is the best. Horse badge. Finally got my PC up and running. Fist bump, high five for Iron Eagle. Getting the PC up and running. I have a picture of me when I was 2 if you guys want to see it. My dear Electra. Oh, we have an entire section in the Discord. Yes, I call it the Discord, just like I call it the iTunes and the Twitch. We have a section for under photo fun, selfies, and old yearbook pictures. So, yes. Go ahead and you can put that in under selfies and photos. And the photo I was talking about is in show and tell. To show and tell. Oh my goodness, look at that. Oh yes, the old pictures of good for you. Now, which one's the outstanding leader? Is that the bottom one or the top one? Outstanding leader. Let's see. Picture of me when I was and the steam. The photo I was talking about in the show and tell section. Yeah. Also, I think there may be something in there you might want to get rid of. It's right above mine. Yeah, it was an image that somebody put in. Yeah. That would probably be. We can do that. Alrighty, but selfies, yearbook pics. Okay, this is so cute. This is so cute. Oh my gosh. Oh, sweetie. Okay. Well, since you posted it in there, we're gonna share it. Oh my goodness, you're so cute. Cute baby. Oh my God. Zion, hey, how are you? Sergeant Electra, you are so adorable. That is so sweet. Very. We've got Michaela Lemon in the house. Michaela Lemon, very pretty, and Michaela is so sweet. And we all love when Michaela we get to meet. Yes! Michaela, how are you? My mom sent that to me. Oh my goodness. Yes, us moms, we store up those old baby pictures because we can't help ourselves. Like ranch sandwiches. Not having a good day. Whisper. Well, hello, Whisper. I'm sorry you're not having a good day. And whatever it is that, if we can cheer that day a little bit, we'll be happy to. And if you want to talk a little bit about it, that's okay. Going to take Steven outside. Catch you later, Doc. Oh, much love to our little angel Steven. You go and enjoy. As the old saying goes, make hay while the sun shines. But, let's see. Ranch sandwiches. Okay. Michaela, when I see ranch sandwiches, are we talking bread, ranch dressing, and that's it? Which is not as weird as you think, because, when we were little, we used to, nobody cared about, nutrition that much. It was like, oh, well, if you want to eat something, you eat something. And we used to take Thousand Island dressing and put it on bread, and you fold it up and you just eat it. So I'm having I'm having a a ranch. It's like, we call them fold over sandwiches. So you take it and you put like Thousand Island dressing, you fold it over and you eat it as a snack. We used to eat all kinds of crazy stuff. Oh my gosh, we had butter and sugar sandwiches. Just to let you know, there were absolutely it was like the nutritional wild, wild west. A butter and sugar sandwich is where you take butter, you spread it on a piece of cheese or a piece of bread until it's like that thick. You got a thick layer of butter. And then you put on sugar. Yes, sugar. Until you can't see the butter anymore. And that was a butter and sugar sandwich. Yes, lol. I call just two pieces of bread an air sandwich. Yep. Granted, my mom and I don't get along and lost me at 18 months. Wow. But I'm glad that happened and lied to me and my dad. Okay. Also, always hurting my feelings. Oh, I'm so sorry, sweetie. It's true that everybody does the best they can with what they have to work with. That does not excuse, there's a difference between a reason and an excuse. A reason is the logical left brain series of events that leads to an outcome. You can understand why something occurred. An excuse is a reason, but there's some justification added to it. You're trying to justify it. There is no excuse for that type of behavior. There's a reason, but not an excuse. And I'm sorry you went through that. And I am so tremendously proud of you, because it's very easy when we have, there are things that we grow up with, and maybe some really hard things, maybe some really painful things. Our ultimate win is the fact that we do not let that person turn us into someone like them, which is what they wanted. So the fact that you denied all of that and remained true to who you are, who you were always meant to be, and I'm so proud of you for that, because that's not easy. Had a panic attack earlier, took my meds for it, and it put us to sleep. And yeah, just who needs enemies when you have a family like me? Whisper. Oh, sweetheart, you are an absolute delight. You are wonderful, and I will hear no argument against that. And self-perception is a very interesting thing, because how we perceive ourselves, we often base it on what came before. We base it on the choices we made and the outcome of those choices. And the thing is, we spend a lot of time basing our perception of ourselves on what was, when we should be basing it on what can be. What are the possibilities? Yes, we all have a history. My dear, I have over 6 decades of things that I regret. And at the same time, I know that each and every one of them helped me to become the person I am. I could not be the doc if it weren't for all the mistakes I made, all of the errors that I made, all of the times that I hurt people, that I hurt their feelings and in that moment didn't care. And as I grew and as I learned later, it wasn't in spite of those actions that I became me. It was because of them. Because now I know better. Now I see the world in a different way, because I understand where certain choices can take me, and I wouldn't have understood that if I hadn't experienced them. So, my dear Whisper, consider that possibility. Consider that no matter what has gone on, what has gone before, what mistakes were made, there's a reason the windshield is larger than the rear view mirror. Because, yeah, occasionally we need to know what's back there, and quite honestly, it helps us see how far we've come. But the view from the front is way more important. So, just something to think about. She calls CPS to help her get out of an abusive relationship. I vowed to myself that I would keep my kids and be a better mother than she ever was. Yeah. And so, in a way, she helped move you forward, because you knew, you may not have known exactly what kind of mother you wanted to be, but it became very clear to you what kind of mother you didn't want to be. Sometimes people teach us as an example, and other times people teach us as a warning. I guess the best we can hope for is to try to be an example as much as we can, as opposed to the warning. But believe me, we're all the warning at some point. You know, that's how I look at it. You know, also in another panic attack thanks to family. Yep, you know what? Whisper, you're going to be okay. And a panic attack has to do with an adrenal reaction. It is a biochemical reaction. And whether there's something that initiates it that is obvious, or whether it's something that initiates it that it's simply, for some reason, the adrenal system goes into override. So, while you're dealing with something that's biochemical, so it's not like, oh, we'll calm down, which is, oh my God, is like one of the dumbest things I've ever heard said to somebody having a panic attack or an anxiety attack. Well, just calm down. Shh. Quiet. And understanding that this is something that you know. It's something you have experienced. It's something that you have overcome before, and you will again. It's like, you know, for those who have asthma. My brother had asthma. And when an asthma attack would happen, it was going to run its course. He just had to do the best he could to manage it while it was happening. For those who have seizures, you can't stop a seizure once it starts. You manage it the best way you can through the process of it, knowing that it will pass. So, my dear Whisper, few people know this type of thing as well as you do, and nobody knows your panic attacks as well as you do, because you have experienced them over and over again. And I'm sorry, that's true. And it is through that that you know that you can be able to get through it, because you have every single time. You've overcome 100% of everything you've ever faced. May not have been pretty, and it may not have been the solution you wanted, but each and every one of you have if you're here in this life, you have overcome 100%, which means that there's nothing ahead of you that is bigger than you or stronger than you or more powerful than you. It just feels like it in the moment. You got this. Dang it, forgot my meds, lol. Well, technically, you just remembered them late. And Silver Architect, evening, little Miss Mods and chats. Hope you're doing absolutely fantastic. And the chat is groovy. It is groovy. And it's even more groovy now that my favorite architect is in the house. How are you doing, my dear? How is the little one? A little too late. Or you remembered really early for the next one. I'm telling Michaela, if there's anybody who knows how to make lemonade out of lemons, it's you. It's in your name. Absolutely. And. Oh, I see we've got pictures. We've got pictures. Oh, goodness. And look how long those legs are hanging down. I have seen some stuff. Oh my gosh. Oh, going after the wafers. Okay. All right. You know, this is a kid who knows what they're doing. They know what they want. Nice. Nice. Oh, look. Oh, there is nothing to me that is cuter than a baby napping. Oh my, and I mean, when a baby is like totally gone, the phrase we used to use is like, well, they're gone for their country. This ear is being very bothersome to me. Perfect. Anyway, let's see. What is everyone planning on doing today? He's doing fantastic. I'm telling you, looking at how long those legs are, boy. Yeah, that's him with his little sister. Oh, and Michaela has redeemed add a hat, add a hat, add a hat, add a hat, add a hat. What hat do we want to add? Let's see. Oh, let us go. Ooh, let's go for my, but look at this. I mean, it looks like it's a puppet. But I love it. I love it so dearly. All right. Crown and then this. Whoop. Okay, maybe we need to do the ears first. See, this is a technical thing. Okay, we'll do the ears first. I got the little fluff. And then we put the crown over the ears. Fluff. You can't really see the fluff too much. Perfect. Okay. And again, that ear is being weird. Ah, that looks like a kid who's just seen a UFO. I have a picture in show and tell. Off to the show and tell. Come on, show and tell. Ooh, oh my goodness. Pika, Pika, Pikachu. Oh my gosh. Strawberry, Scooby-Doo, Scooby-Gooby-Doo. Where are you? Tweety Bird. Kitty. Poppers. Oh, it's like Luna and Sam. Oh my goodness. What do we have? Piglet. Okay. Favorite, call out in your chat your favorite character from Winnie the Pooh. Eeyore, without a doubt, my favorite. Ooh, I like that. Nice, 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 nice. Eeyore was always my favorite because I always thought Eeyore was, and the weird thing is everybody thought Eeyore was sad. Eeyore wasn't sad. Eeyore looked at the world for exactly what it was, where everybody else has this kind of, it's like, it was, to me, it was as if Eeyore actually knew what reality was and what the real world was, and yet lived in this, this magical 100-acre woods with the knowledge that it's like, this is a dream. We're existing in a dream. And when he would sit and just sit with a flower and he would just be fine. I love Eeyore. Eeyore's my favorite. Tigger! The wonderful thing about Tiggers, the Tigger's a wonderful thing. The tops are made out of rubber, the bottoms are made out of spring. They're bouncy, 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 fun, 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 fun. And the wonderful thing about Tiggers is I'm the only one. I'm the only one. Which was a very interesting thing. Because of the fact, it's like, okay, Tigger was the only Tigger, but the thing is, Pooh was the only Pooh. Eeyore was the only Eeyore. Piglet was the only Piglet. Why did Tigger feel that he had to emphasize his uniqueness? Which I always thought, it's like, well, Tigger, of course you're the only one, but that's okay because everybody else is the only one of them. As I always say, you are the only you in all the universe. More on that later. Well, my daughter's definitely taking after me, 16 and 6 foot tall, and decided to do hairdressing at college. Ooh, photography. Same. Fist bump, high five. They are ruining the cartoon now. Hi, Doc. Hey, Shade. How are you doing, sweetie? I hope that, things are looking up, opening up, and blessings abound. But yeah, I mean, each one of the Pooh characters, we're going to go on a little Pooh rant here. No, God, I know how that sounds. Taken out of context, it could be a discussion of how much fiber is in your diet. And the idea that, it's like each one of the characters, if you looked at them and, you see, it's like, with Rabbit, Rabbit's kind of, a little bit obsessive compulsive and likes things in a particular way. And for those of you who remember when Pooh moved in with Rabbit and how miserable Rabbit was because things became a mess and all this other stuff, Anne was trying to make the best out of it possible. But, and each one of the characters, I'd say probably the one that had the least identity was Kanga. Now, Kanga, who was the kangaroo, and her baby was named Roo. Roo, was very fleshed out, was very, Roo was doing his Roo thing. But Kanga basically was like the mode of transportation. Very rarely did, that mother side, which I think they did on purpose because Kanga would represent the grown-up. Because everybody else had this kind of like childlike thing, but Kanga was the only one who had a responsibility. Kanga had to look at the world as a parent, taking care of Roo and all of his crazy friends. So I always kind of felt for Kanga. Making a horror movie out of the Winnie the Pooh. Yes, I will never see that. Jake and I went to the food bank, got some food to last till Thursday. Good. Jake picked up an extra shift at work today. His friend helped us with a small bag of food for the pups. Nice. I'm currently looking for a second job as well. Sweetie, that's not frowny face. That's fist bump high five. That is you guys being proactive. It's you guys not saying, oh, well, everything sucks, we may as well, just sit here and, feel miserable. No. It's a hard situation. Been there myself. And it is, and it sucks. And it takes a lot of pressure to make a diamond. And what you guys are doing, you're not just sitting, you are problem solving. You're going to go, well, let's see, I'm looking for a second job. That is a wonderful thing. That is a beautiful thing. That is an empowered thing. What you guys are doing, everything you're doing, first off, it shows that you are not wrapping your ego up in, well, I don't want to go to a food bank because I'm afraid of what people will think of me. No, that's what they're there for. The fact that you did not get wrapped up in ego, you stayed in that place of, you know what? I mean, this is where you are now. It's not where you're going to be. And keep in mind, consider how many rich and famous people have these stories about that time when they were absolutely broke, when they were totally poor, when, when everything was going wrong and they had every reason to give up in that moment, but they somehow kept going. This is that part of the story for you. And one day, you're going to be all rich and famous and stuff. And you're going to be telling people, it's like, you know what? It wasn't always like this. I went through these really hard times, remember, I remember when this, and this. You're going to be talking about this time now. And then you're going to follow it with, but I kept working. I kept sticking with it because I knew there was something better. And then that something better happened. So, my dear Shay, just consider this, that part of your story. And you are going to be so proud of yourself. I mean, I'm totally proud of you. But at one point, as you're relaying this story from a podium and talking to people who are in tough places, and when you tell them this part of your story, and you're going to remember, wow, I remember what that felt like, and then I came out the other side. And being able to not just talk about the hard times, but talk about how you hold on to hope and believe that it can get better. And you just do everything you can to keep showing up, to keep that momentum going until that cool part of the books happens, the really cool part of your speech. But sweetie, this is just that part that everybody goes through, or I won't say everybody goes through it. And certainly not everybody makes it out the other side. But the fact that you're talking about, okay, these are the resources we have right now, and this is what I can do. You're going to be just fine, sweetie. And I know that reading this. We have a posture check. Okay, Sergeant Electra is pulling up a posture check. This is, apparently there's something called nerd neck. I did not know about this. I mean, I knew doctor phrases like anthrolisthesis, and positional, Englishing, positional subluxation, and vertebral displacement. But apparently there's a thing called nerd neck, which is like when you bring your neck, it's like, we called it anterior head carriage, where the neck is extended like this. Now, the reason this happens, let's see, so it's like this. The reason that happens is because the shoulders roll forward. When the shoulders roll forward, what it does is it automatically brings the head down. Now, the body is hardwired. The brain wants the eyes at horizon. So, when you have the shoulders go forward, what happens is the neck cranes forward and to bring the head level. So, you've got this kind of posture, and what happens is that it creates, it can create a lot of neck pain, headaches. So, and that's why the positional thing, okay, so you've got your shoulders forward. The problem's not in the neck. It's coming from the shoulder posture. This cranes forward. And also, when you look and you see how far ahead of the shoulders the ears are. So if you look, when I'd be evaluating people and I'd see that their ear was that far ahead of their shoulders. So you bring your shoulders forward as far as you can. From a forward position, up as high as you can. From that position, roll them back as far as you can, then bring them straight down. Now, look where the ear is compared to the shoulder. This also allows you to take a much deeper breath. When you're bent over, when you're in a, sort of a forward flexion, fetal, type of position where your shoulders are rolled forward, and you try to take a deep breath, you can't. Shoulders forward, up, back, down. Take a deep breath. So that resolves nerd neck. And if you do that and it feels really uncomfortable, you need to do it more. Because basically you need to teach the muscles what it means to be in an anatomically optimal situation. I still remember when Pooh got stuck in rabbit's hole. Lol, imagine, stuck in the rabbit's hole, out of context. Absolutely. Magster and I made a step last week in our life we're doing. Love that. I love that for you. And Sweden official, hi! Hello, my dear. How are you? I hope everything is awesome with you. I hope you're having a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, or night, whatever applies to you. And I hope that tomorrow brings you something absolutely amazing. Trust in that. Man, hobbling up and down stairs on crutches suck. Yeah, crutches are a thing. You should be proud. Yes. Yeah, that's true. Like, I even told Jake, it's hard in life, but that's why there are things available for people who really need help. Ding, ding, ding. So proud of you. Jake told me he doesn't know how I can be under so much pressure and still look for the bright things. I just told him, when you don't have a lot and you're struggling, the best thing to do is walk around with a smile on your face. Shade. First off, shade. Please take that and put it in inspiring thoughts in the Discord. I am so proud of you guys. Oh my God, I'm so proud of you. You know, that is... And the thing is, it's like, okay, you make the best of your situation. You know, there's an old Zen Buddhist saying, once you have learned to love hell, you will always be in heaven. Which means that if you can find balance even in those really hard times, and it doesn't mean pretending that you're not having a hard time. It's you can be honest with yourself and go, well, this is going to suck for a while, but it's not going to suck forever. And if in this moment I can remember that out there in the world there are countless people who would give anything to have the life I have. And it's that thing about the difference between having what you want and wanting what you have. Because when you can want what you have, when you can find peace where you're at, understanding it's a temporary spot, wherever you are, whatever you're going through, it's not going to last. And that's for great times and for hard times. Life is fun till it isn't, and it sucks till it doesn't. But when you can go, well, at least I'm learning how strong I am. And when I get to the other side of this, which I know I will, I am going to be able to be proud that I am stronger than even I thought I could be. And everything I learned through this process is going to stay with me and is making me a better person. The finest steel is forged in the hottest fire. Aren't most doctor words from Latin? Yes, most doctor words are from Latin. Okay. All right. Little known anatomical fact. The muscle with the longest name is one of the shortest muscles in the body. The levator labii aquae nasi superioris. I called it the Elvis muscle because it's a little muscle that runs from here to here, and it does this. Thank you very much. Thank you. It's like Elvis always had that little sneer. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. The muscle, and the crazy thing is, the levator labii aquae nasi superioris, usually if you have a muscle that is superioris, there is an inferioris. It's like, gluteus, minimus, medius, and maximus. So the idea that you've got this tiny little muscle that squinches the corner of your mouth, levator labii, lifting labii, lip, aquae nasi, closer to the nose, superioris, I guess because it's going up, but there's nothing that makes it go down. Always very interesting. One of my ways to try and fix neck pain is just to crack it. Okay. I have so many patients who's like, oh, I know how to pop my neck. I can pop. It's like, no, because the thing is, you're not popping the part that needs to be popped. You're popping the part right above it and or right below it because those have become hypermobile. There's a reason it takes a lot of years to learn how to adjust, because it's not just about twisting till a popping sound happens. It is about finding the exact segment. I've had people who are like chronically twisting and popping their necks, and then I check, I find the one that's locked up, I unlock that. They don't even feel the need to do that anymore because they've got the mobility. But yeah, all you're doing is creating hypermobility in the segment above and or below it. So go to a professional mountain. It is definitely best. Y'all, you know, it's like people who are not trained, it's like, you want to pull your own teeth if you're not trained as a dentist? You want to try to fix your own car without any training as a mechanic? You can't fix a locked joint unless you know what you're doing. So, and in fact, I had somebody who, let's see, basically he was constantly like, you know, like, oh, I can pop my own neck. I'm a chiropractor. I was one for 20 years. I don't even pop my own neck. And one day he was talking about popping his own neck. He popped it and dropped like a stone. And we're like, is he kidding? And then, you know, an ambulance was called. It got bad. So after that, no, I do not pop my own neck. Dang, not even a hello. Hello. Got caught in an ad. Yes. Garbingu. Hey, have you heard of I don't know what that's about, but cool. Lots of interesting games. As soldiers used to say in the Middle East, welcome to the suck or embrace the suck. You know what? Like I said, once you, as the old saying goes, once you learn to love hell, then you will always be in heaven. It doesn't mean you don't acknowledge hell sucks, but the idea that if you can find balance in those hard times, realizing that they're making you stronger, realizing that they always happen and always will, but to be able to keep your perspective, to stay in choice. It's Tuesday. It's about staying in that place of choice, where you can go, well, I could reflexively, you know, just be weird, you know, and you know, give up or whatever, or I could stay in choosing. Well, this is my circumstance. What are my choices here? Because that's coming from a place of empowerment. Jay came in hot, or was that you, Doc? Nope, it is the Jay. Jay, who is one of my moderators, Supremes, who is an absolutely awesome sauce individual, who is the king of New York, the reigning monarch of Staten Island, and I will hear no argument to it, who is the one who has introduced me to such amazing things as vodka sauce and meat pies and Junior's cheesecake and ice cream cakes that are out here that, okay, I've had ice cream cake before. I've never had ice cream cake like this. And cookie butter. You know, it's like, very, very awesome. And I crack my fingers out of habit. Yes and no, it won't give you arthritis. It doesn't. Big Bad Fox, how the... oh, smiley face. Howdy. How the fox are you doing? Oh, Big Bad Fox. It's always so fun when you come in. We started going to the gym. Electra, fist bump high five. That is, Junior's is delicious. Oh, Junior's is amazing. The fox goes unnoticed and slinks into the shadows like a ninja. No, I just have to catch up with it. You know, y'all, it's like, nah, I've been caught. Never mind. What did the fox say? Well, sorry, too. But, you know, it is and Electra, good for you. Yes, for those of you who last night, I found my water bottle. Is this not pretty? It's green, it's blue, it changes color. It is so sweet. It was a gift. It was a gift from somebody, and it was a lot of fun. So, yes, it is one of my favorite things, and I love it ever so dearly. And choice is probably one of the most sacred gifts that we have in life. Because we can't choose what other people are going to do. We can't choose what the weather's going to do. We can't choose what national leaders are going to do. We can't choose. There's a whole bunch of stuff we can't choose. But we can choose how we respond to it. And in that lies empowerment. Sergeant Electra is calling for a flash from the past. Sergeant Electra, you get your choice of childhood teens, young adult, older adult, and random unusual photos. And I just found some new ones, so it's interesting. Let's see. A wise man has to speak because he has something to say. A fool speaks because he has to say something. Big bad fox. Okay, please put that in inspiring thoughts. I love that. I go to the gym every week when I'm ninja, so I'll probably lose some progress. You know what? But then you can make it up again. I think you missed my last question. Do you think it might take a few days for the coughing to stop, especially when it has to drain out the excess mucus for me to use the humidifier? It'll probably take a little bit of time. What I would suggest is cutting either down or cut dairy out of your diet for a few days, because the thing is, dairy, one of the chemical reactions that it has in the body is that it can promote mucus formation. So do your best to reduce the dairy, whether it's milk, cheese, whatever. Cut that out of your diet for a couple of days. Make sure that you're drinking warm, warm beverages, either teas, things like that, again, that do not have dairy in it. And it will allow you to, it'll allow your body, it'll give your body that extra boost for being able to clear out. Taking, even if you take, warm water and put cough drops in it, and you get the fumes that come up, that will actually help as well. Let's see. Hands the mic to Mountain. Mike. Random unusual photos. Yes. Taps the mic. There's a reason I'm a drummer. Drummer! Okay. We have, let's see. Random unusual photos. Okay. Here is a random unusual photo. Why are you coming up on this screen? Okay. This is, wait a minute. Photo. There we go. Okay, this was me at it was a Halloween thing at one of the churches. I was giving a service. And so I was kind of getting my druid on. This is sort of a druid thing. So this is me at this event. Okay. So this is me dressed up druid style. Got my hood, got my shawl, and it was during the time that I had my green hair. And yes, because it was at a church service, I was wearing a mask. A hot shower can help mucus come out as well. Very true. Halloween mask, never heard of that. Yeah, it is Samhain. It is it's a traditional holiday among, not just pagans, but druids, and, many folks celebrated Samhain. So, yes, this was, the doc getting her druid on. I miss your green hair. I miss it too. But it will come back. It will come back. Basically, what I'm doing is I'm giving my hair some months to kind of, get over. Let's see. We'll even do an extra. This was how light my hair had to be dyed in order for me to, Okay, this is how light my hair had to be dyed in order to get the green. And that's a lot of bleach. That's a lot of bleach. So what I'm doing is I'm letting my hair have some, I'm just wearing it totally natural, growing it out natural, and then once I get it nice and long, because once I get it nice and long naturally, it'll be about like 3 to 4 inches longer when I straighten it, and then I will get the green hair back. And at that point, my goal is to, let's see, okay. Okay, so this is what I'll be going back to. This was me when I first got my hair colored green. So I will be going back to this, and it is, let's see, oh, there we go. So I will be going, yeah, this was where I used to live too. That was my backyard. So yes, the green hair will come back. But I think it's important for me to let my hair rest from processing and chemicals and everything for a while, and then, but Sergeant Electra, I guarantee the green hair will be back. A coward avoids battle, a brave man entertains battle, and a wise man battles only when he must stand aside no longer. I love that too. Bam! Inspiring thoughts. Big Bad Fox, you be dropping the knowledge on us. Halloween Mass, never heard of it. Thanks, I'm stuck on the same floor though because my bad ankle, unfortunately. Let's see. I was raised Catholic, didn't have a choice in that. Yep, well, you have a choice now. Right, it got heal. Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. That one is a Fox original. Well, then you make sure that you quote yourself. So, but no, that's lovely. You need to take your Fox Original. Oh my God, you need to do t-shirts. Get t-shirts and then at the bottom go Fox Original. So, but yeah, you know, and it is something, it's sort of like, you know, I mean, I was never one to wear a lot of makeup. And every once in a while I do, but, you know, I make sure that I take care of my skin. And you know, it's important for us to give our bodies breaks from things. It's like, you know, I've known a lot of women who were constantly dyeing their hair and they never gave it a break, and then it started falling out. It literally started to break and fall out. So every once in a while, I know I need to let my hair just be natural, which includes, you know, no curling irons, no pressing, you know, just nutrients and stuff like that. And I usually give it about like maybe 3 to 6 months where it's just, you know, depending on how long, and I had my hair in braids for a really long time. So, you know, it's, but I do miss it. I miss it ever so much, and I'm definitely getting my hair re-dyed that way. Let's see. Fox, if you try to steal this, you will get foxed up. Baby Charlie is going to be Stitch. Oh, as in Lilo and Stitch. Nice. Not sure about Azzy yet. My hair since I graduated has been relatively short. Yeah, I mean, you know, it, and different people, you know, at the age that I'm at, hair grows differently. It doesn't grow the same way as it did when I was younger. So it's important to make sure that, you know, we always keep track of what it is that our bodies are needing. You know, I could tell, and see, when I get stressed out, my hair really, you could always tell what's going on with me by my hair. And I could tell that my hair was suffering because I was suffering, because I was really stressed out. And for, you know, some people, it's like, you know, their fingernails break off and don't grow. For some people, you know, you could tell in their skin. Other people, you could tell in their eyes. Me, you know that something is going on with me by what my hair is doing. So I need to, you know, I need to give it a break. And you know, and also give my hair a break. I keep my long hair. Yes, I definitely want to have my long hair. And at some point, I mean, I'm going to see how far I can actually get it to grow. I usually get my hair cut every 2 to 3 weeks. Cool. Great way to avoid split ends. What profits a man to strike in anger then a fool cannot divine in mediocrity. Ooh, that's kind of deep. And I always love things that talk about mediocrity. Mediocrity and divine. Oh, burpees. Anyway, two inspiring thoughts with that one. Very, very, very cool. And I'd also like to take a moment to acknowledge everyone who's hanging out in the Loving Lurkers Lounge. Thank you so much for hanging in there. Even if I'm a little tab in the background, the Loving Lurkers Lounge. Refreshments are in the corner, and feel free to put your feet on the furniture. That sounds like Julius Caesar a bit. Yes. Oh, Shakespeare is awesome. Oh my God. I love, I mean, that was something that also brought me to want to be in theater, Shakespeare, because I always thought, I mean, the pattern, the speech pattern in most Shakespeare plays is called iambic pentameter, and it has to do with the rhythm of how things are said, and I've always loved that. I have studied the greats. Oh yes, it is. I mean, and there's so much great literature out there. There's so much wisdom that's out there, whether it's Lao Tzu, or whether it's W.E.B. Du Bois, or whether it's, Confucius, or whether it's, whatever it is, whether it's Native American traditions, or, Celtic traditions, or, whatever, Hindu traditions. There is such wisdom that's out there that, being able, and even if something's from a culture that you've never had any dealing with, often you will find that in the sayings and in the the proverbs and things like that, it rings true for everybody. Caesar was a great man until a certain point. Well, yeah, there was that certain point when it's like, judgment could have been better. In other words, be very careful. See, that whole thing, keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer, and being aware that, there's always going to be... stop. What? Chat, don't do the weirdness. Don't do a weird thing. I don't know why, but suddenly the chat panel was being weird. Okay. Anyway... it is about figuring out what is, this above all, to thine own self be true. And then it will follow as the night, the day, thou canst not then be false to any man. Polonius. I got to give the speech of Polonius. Everybody else got to do the to be or not to be speech. Oh, no, 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 no. The teacher picked me to do the speech of Polonius to his son Laertes that was filled with all kinds of advice. His judgment, or lack thereof, got him stabbed 12 times. Well, there was a whole bunch of stabbing going on. Going to clean for a bit. Fist bump high five. Good for you to be productive. Thou art wiser in thine own folly. Should thou divine a greater truth in thine self. And there's always a greater truth. And the cool thing is that truth changes. Most people don't think that. Oh, no, no, no. If it's a truth, it's always a truth. It has always been the truth, and it always will be the truth. But the thing is, your truth has changed. And I will tell you, for a fact, your truth has changed. Because consider, what was true for you when you were 10 years old? Is it the same thing when your entire experience with the world was 10 years? That was all you perceived. Now, was that truth the same as the truth when you were 20? Or when you were 30? For those of you who are that old. When you consider that and at every age we think we know everything. And I faced a young man who looked at me and said, at the age of 13, he said, well, I know what the world is all about. Now, my father had a theory. He would not listen to any opinions on life from someone who had not purchased their own toilet paper. What he meant by that is that in order to give a perspective on life, somebody needs to have lived it out there. And that young man who told me at the age of 13 that he knew all of what the world was about, I said, you know what? Why don't you write that down? I want you to put your age down, put it in an envelope, address it to yourself, mail it. Then when you get it back, don't open it, put it away somewhere, and read it when you're 30. And in fact, I had a conversation with this young man, and he said, I didn't put it down in a letter or anything like you said. He goes, but I remembered it, and I'm sorry. Because at 13, I had no idea what the world was about. It'd be like, consider that, someone a quarter of your age comes strolling up to you and starts telling you what the world is about. And you look at them and you go, no, because nothing you're stating is based on your experience. Now, there's a lot that can be said for observational experience, when you see and perceive and view something in the world. But when you consider that at every age you've been at, that was your full experience with the world, but it wasn't the experience that was available to you. When I look back, what was true for me when I was 50 is not true for me in my 60s. So there is always that evolution as our worlds get bigger. What is true for us, or what is our truth, it evolves as we do. So, keep that in mind, that, truth is based on your experience and what you know up until that point in your life from personal experience. Yes, you can get truth from reading things. You can go, that rings true to me. But then you might read something else that broadens that picture. Know thyself, know thy enemy, 1,000 battles, 1,000 victories. Sun Tzu, exactly. Now, Art of War. I actually highly recommend reading that because it's not... technically, it's about war. But the thing is, it is also about the battles we fight in our own brains and how we walk in this world. Sun Tzu, a lot of it's very amazing. And the book is called The Art of War. And I would suggest reading it. That and Jonathan Livingston Seagull. With me playing lots of Roblox games lately, I don't think I'd be trusted near any big red buttons label explosions. Yep. Just kidding. No, you're not. You'd go for the button. Truth is the inception of knowledge of the narrative of man, spoken through the shoulders of age and hardship. Yep. And truth always adapts. It always changes as our experience grows. A big red button that says do not push makes me want to push it. Psychology, man. Yep. My theory on history is that it was written by the victors. That is true. Well, that was true. Up until, my growing up, 100%, absolutely, it was written by the victors. Then an amazing thing happened. Cell phones with cameras. And then we were no longer dependent on the victors to tell us what happened. People all over the world suddenly had the ability to view experiences firsthand, that they could see what was happening. So where that was true for probably, almost half my lifetime and everything before, once we got cell phones, once the ability to share a moment with the entire planet, to capture it on the World Wide Webiverse, into the interwebs, up to the cloud, which I still don't actually understand what the cloud is. But when moments can be captured, Tiananmen Square, when I was growing up, nobody would have ever known that. George Floyd, nobody would have known that. We would have only had what the reports were made because we didn't have any way to share that. But now, people are walking down the street capturing moments, and it's become so normal that it's like, well, of course, you do anything and, you got 24 people up with their phones capturing it historically for the entire world to look at. Actually, I feel very fortunate that my formative teen years and early 20s, when, shall we say, the doc was a little bit feisty, mature judgment had not kicked in. I am tremendously grateful that that was a time before cell phones. And especially cell phones with cameras. I mean, when the first cell phones came out and they didn't have cameras. But yes, I am very happy that I spent my teen years at a time when, stuff didn't get captured for the world to see. Good to see you again. Snoringbush, the god of ghillie suits, and who is just absolutely awesome, has dropped so much amazing knowledge over in Inspiring Thoughts. How are you, my dear? What is up? What is happening? What's the buzz? A lot of history has been uncovered since, and now we're making documentaries on lost nations and conquered people. Exactly. And the thing is, the other thing that has changed that whole perspective of, well, history's written by the victors, is that now the technology exists to actually look back on things and scientifically figure out what happened. Because, we really didn't have ways to figure out. It's like there's those TV shows where they go back and they actually figure out scientifically what someone passed from. Like, they have like murder mysteries. And, now they can go back and actually check the remains and figured out what exactly happened. They did it with, I think, like Cleopatra or something like that, to figure out exactly whether or not it was the snake that killed her. And was it a snake bite or was she poisoned? And I find that absolutely amazing that science has progressed to the point where, we can unlock mysteries that there was no way. As far as I'm concerned, when I grew up, it was just like on the old sailor maps that, if there was an area that hadn't been discovered yet, they would just write on the map, beyond here there be monsters. And we had that, just basically, beyond here there be monsters, because we didn't know. Exploration of the sea floors and all of these things. And, when I was growing up, it's like, no, you aren't going to know what happened to the Titanic because there's no way to reach it. And yet now there is. The Marianas Trench. What's going on other worlds? Martian rovers taking pictures of stuff. Science has developed to a point where, quite honestly, there are fewer and fewer mysteries in the world. And I think that's a very cool thing. And now that science is allowing us to be able to learn more, to know more about the dinosaurs, to know more about early man, to know more about, everything. I think it's very cool. The Art of War teaches us to rely not on the likelihood of the enemy not coming, but on our own readiness to receive him, not on the chance of his not attacking, but rather on the fact that we have made our position unassailable. Sun Tzu, fist bump high five. A lot of the Roman bigwigs of the era didn't like Cleopatra. Exactly. Shrek Fork, what is up, my dear? Hello, Doc. How are you doing? I'm doing awesome, and even a little better now that you're here. The old here be dragons excuse. Yeah, exactly. And that was a whole thing about, because it was an idea to prevent people from going into those areas. It's like, no, you don't want to go there. There's monsters past there. And so it was a way to keep people, I guess, safe, but to, keep them in a box. And the box days ended a long time ago. Lazy Lacey, Doc, remember me? Oh, Bridget, who was one of the heavy hitters of the Celtic gods and goddesses. Oh my gosh, we have the goddess Bridget in our presence. Yay! My European wolf spider finally had babies. Yay! They were taken care of and were let into the wild. Now there will be more spiders in my house. I see them everywhere. Yay! Lacey, how are you doing, my dear? What is up? What is the buzz? It's been a hot minute. Glad to see you. Well, glad to see you too. Well, I'm glad to see your words. Yay! And since it's been a while, I'm here in beautiful Staten Island, New York. I've moved away from my mountain, away from California, got into a car, drove across country by myself, ended up spending time in Detroit, ended up spending some time in Canada, and now I'm here to make my dream of being a Broadway actress a reality in my 60s. Three hats, put on another. I've been compared to Ares, of the Greek pantheon, for my rage. Yep. And it's interesting. Ares was viewed in a couple of different ways. Ares was viewed, and it's interesting that the Greek gods, we have add a hat, add a hat, add a hat, add a hat, add a hat. What hat do we want to add? Let's add, okay, we're going to add the fishing hat. So, Aries, okay, now we got to do this carefully so we can get both ears in. Perfect. Doc is a fisherman. Yes, I fish, I don't catch. So, Aries was viewed as tremendously impulsive. Aries was like the god of a lack of restraint, which is very interesting because of the fact that the whole perception of war wasn't just about, okay, you upset me, so I'm going to try to destroy you, which actually the Greek gods had a tendency for that. They could be petty as all get out. And because Ares was, he was matched with Aphrodite. But Aphrodite was not into any type of a monogamous type of situation, and Ares would get petty. So if somebody was focusing on Aphrodite, and Ares would go after them. So it's interesting that Ares became, he was a symbol of rage, but the thing is, rage goes into that place of a lack of control, a lack of restraint. And it was just always funny because Athena, who was, Ares' sister, was constantly about, you have got to think about your actions. You've got to think of the consequences. And he's like, ah! So the whole idea of rage being an expression of anger. Now, anger, like every other emotion, has a light side and a shadow side. The light side of anger is determination, it's conviction. It is that thing that drives us when we see an injustice to say, oh, heck no, not on my shift. But it is measured. Rage is when we lose our ability to choose. And that's what Ares symbolized, was that aspect of, acting on impulse as opposed to thought. So each one of the gods were kind of an embodiment of a particular thing. Athena for wisdom. You stop, you think about it. Aphrodite for expressions of love. Ares for basically, act first and regret it later. Add a hat. And Vampire Bun Bun coming in. Vampire Bun Bun, how are you, my dear? Redeeming Flash from the past. Alrighty, my dear. You can choose childhood, teens, young adult, older adult, and random unusual photos. Just having some latte. Oh my God, I would consider donating a kidney for a matcha latte right now. Oh, just having some latte, and I just see you live. Yay! Yep, I be a fisherman. Did you take pictures from your drive with a few highlights? I did. In fact, I got to get those organized. Zeus was the king of being petty. Zeus was... it was weird because Zeus was also, I mean, basically narcissism. Zeus was like the ultimate narcissist. And it was about, okay, this works for me. And yes, he came from a very dysfunctional source. I mean, when your own father is basically saying, it's like, well, okay, I'm going to eat these kids because that's what, the Titans were the predecessors of the Greek gods. And when Zeus's father, it's like Mother Earth was was producing these children. And so he swallowed all of the babies whole. And so his mother wrapped a stone in a baby blanket, handed it to him. But Zeus grew up, took out his dad, all of the, gods and goddesses sprung forth as they were his siblings, and still Hera. Hera is, she symbolized, well, in a way, she was also very narcissistic, but, she could be very petty. It was like, that was the thing. It's like, there were very few, when you talk about gods and goddesses, and whether it's Greek, Roman, Norse, whatever culture, they personify an extreme level of a particular human emotion. And both in its light and its shadow. And so, it's like, yep, well, he did, but technically she did too. I mean, all the gods got around. And it was basically, it's like, no, I don't care that, I'm spreading babies all over the place or what their circumstance is. I mean, Zeus was the ultimate in the, absentee father type of thing. You don't need to donate your kidney. I'll come and make you a tasty one. Oh, my dear Lacey, that would be awesome. And believe me, if you were here in Staten Island, we could definitely hang out. I think that would be awesome sauce. But, yes, but Fire Nutter, I will be organizing my travel pics. So, and it is interesting when we consider that, I mean, as beings that personified an extreme of a particular emotion, did they actually have choice? Which is an interesting question. It was like, could Ares choose not to be enraged, not to be reactive? Could, Aphrodite choose, it's like, you know what? I'm not going on a date. I'm just going to sit at home and read a good book. Or maybe, could Aphrodite just kind of take up knitting and decide, you know what? Love, passion, whatever. Or were they trapped without choice? Did they have to be? I mean, Loki. Was Loki's destiny set? And if so, does that mean he had no choice in it? It's very interesting when you take a look at that. I've been still trying to figure out feelings. I think I clench onto those feelings too much, but that's only because I feel those feelings so much, and it seems like nothing gets done about them, unfortunately. Yep, LMAO, that's why I love to hop up in your streams. Yes, Mampaida, and that's why I love you too. And it is interesting because, in Fire Nutter, you bring up an interesting thing. Because when we're accustomed to particular emotions at a particular level, it is almost like we become hardwired to want it at that. Let me explain. I spent a huge number of years in my life living with almost constant stress. And I mean, it was like probably for close to 20 years. I had no idea that every single day I was carrying stress. And it was just like I got so used to it that when I reached a point where I wasn't stressed or I had no reason to be stressed, I would actually look for reasons to get stressed because it didn't feel natural to me to not be stressed. So I would subconsciously look for circumstances that would feed into that stress. And one that stands out, I was in a restaurant, and this was on a weekend that was a very weird one because I was writing in a book, a blank book, but the things I was writing weren't from me. And this has to do with frequencies in the book that I wrote. But, just leave it to say that I was being told stuff. And the way it was coming out was I was writing it in this book. And so I was going to go to breakfast. I was staying at this hotel that was right on the beach. And I did that on the last weekend of every year to just kind of have time for myself. And so I went and, boomer story time. I went down to breakfast. And I was sitting there and I'm looking out the window. And I see a man and a woman, and they're walking along together. And kind of, and it's weird because, I was like, up, the restaurant was kind of up, so it looked down on the beach. So I was like this observer. They had no idea that I was observing them. They were just doing them. And so, I was thinking to myself, oh my gosh, here's this beautiful couple. Maybe they've been together for a long time. Maybe they met at their reunion and, and they rekindled it. And here they are walking along the beach. And I was like going so into this moment with these total strangers and feeling that love and all of that. Well, then she stopped and she started like doing Tai Chi. And he walked away down the beach. So immediately, I got upset. I was like, that son of a gun, he's embarrassed about her. He's not embracing her uniqueness and her ability to just be herself. She's out there doing Tai Chi all in front of everybody, and she's in her moment, and he can't deal with it. Oh, see, that is so typical. And I got very upset. And I'm like looking at this woman and I'm all but saying out loud, we don't need him. We don't need him. We're in this together and all of this. Well, then after a while, the guy comes back up and she stops doing her Tai Chi and they hold hands and they hug and then they walk off down the beach together. And I'm sitting there going, no, we don't need him. We're us because he didn't accept us. And, and I was like, and experiencing that. So I went back to the blank book and I wrote down what happened. And then I started writing, you are so accustomed to feeling hurt, to feeling abandoned, to feeling stressed, that in a perfectly good, calm, gentle moment, you not only created something to be stressed about, you recruited total strangers to help you get to that feeling. And I'm like, dang. But it was true. I was sitting there in a restaurant. It was a perfectly beautiful day. I was enjoying a perfectly lovely breakfast. There was nothing for me to feel stressed about. And yet, based on what I observed two total strangers doing, I created an entire story around them that quite honestly related to me. I became her, or I transferred myself onto her. And the guy was a man who had hurt me. And I didn't realize how hurt I was until I got so angry about him walking away, about him seeming to be uncomfortable with her freedom of her expression. She was not allowed to be her, because otherwise he would walk away. And I had to acknowledge that that was exactly how I felt about my marriage ending. After 20 years of marriage, I had to choose between staying married or being myself. And it wasn't even myself, it was the discovering who and what I was and stepping up into that, of embracing the magic. And he didn't want that. He was uncomfortable with it. And so he left. And I never realized how abandoned I felt by that until I put myself in somebody else's shoes. So, I tell you all that to tell you this, that when we create a way of being within ourselves, whether it's constantly being stressed, constantly being relaxed, constantly being afraid, constantly being in love, whatever it is, it becomes the norm. It becomes the way our body is used to being. There are certain chemicals that are produced in the body when we're stressed and when we're relaxed. And if we maintain that for a long time, especially the stressed stuff, then our bodies go, okay, this is normal. Oh, wait a minute. We don't have enough of this chemical, this adrenaline in our systems. So we're gonna find a reason to raise it up to the point where we feel normal. And I hadn't realized how accustomed I had come to feeling stressed and hurt. And my body created a story that would allow me to get back to that level of stress and hurt, even if it was nothing that was happening to me. So, it's hard to get the body to be able to be used to something different. And one of the hardest transitions that we can make is going from being constantly stressed to being able to relax. Because, I mean, sometimes you just can't even relax. You could write a romance book about that situation, probably. If there's a possibility that I made a story up about my learning disabilities, nope. That's not a story you made up based on strangers just because they told me those things. I still feel like it's frustrating to deal with, but what is it to say those things are not the best picture of your story for me? And the thing is that, you know, there are things that are the emotional aspects, and then there's the physical aspects. Learning disabilities, that is not, you know, that's not an emotional thing. That is an actual physical manifestation. It's a biochemical reaction. So, you know, that's not about a story any more than having freckles is a story, or any more than, you know, having a particular hair color is a story, or asthma, or astigmatism, or whatever. The story comes in how we live with that. What is the perspective that we put that into our lives? It's like having asthma is a physical event. It is something that is a physical occurrence. The story comes in either I will never be able to do anything because I have asthma. I will always be less. I will always be unable to do these things. I will never be able to, you know, challenge myself or overcome this because I have asthma. That's one story. Another story is, I don't care if I have asthma. I'm going out for the track team, and I will figure it out. I will strengthen myself, or maybe I'll take up playing a wind instrument so that I can strengthen my lungs. That's a different story. But the thing is, the story that becomes your reality is the one that you decide to go with. But the cool part is that even if we take on a story, I had a particular story for over 2 decades of my life. And it was my story. Story of stress, of unhappiness, of feeling like what I needed didn't matter compared to what other people needed. That I always had to put everyone else first. I lived that story for 20 years. And even after all that time, I was able to change it. We can always change our story. Is it easy? No. Can we change the physical aspects of our stories? No. I mean, maybe, but that's a medical question. Can we write ourselves a better story? Can we tell ourselves a better story about the stuff that we can't change, that we don't have control over? Because how good of a story or how bad of a story we tell ourselves, and considering that everything, there's a difference between what you know and what you believe. From the present moment back, into the past, that's what we know. Everything from this moment as to what could be is belief. There's no proof of anything from this moment forward. So it is about separating that, realizing that just because it has been a particular way doesn't mean it's going to be that way in the future. It allows that we can change something, that we can shift something, that we can either do something different or find a new resource or look to new technology. But the future's not set. And unless we decide we want to carve it in stone based on what our life has been up to this point, I mean, it's a choice. You can do that, and if you love it, I love it for you. But there would be an interesting thing of viewing our future as infinite possibility. Because if I hadn't learned that, if I had stuck with being who I was for all those years, I wouldn't be in Staten Island. I wouldn't have come across country to fulfill a dream. And my dream is no more important or significant than yours. Your dream is significant too. Your life is significant. Your choices are significant. And when it comes down to what do I want to do with this? Do I want to just say, well, there's no sense in fighting. There's no sense in trying to overcome this. Because what I fear, it's like there's a saying that fear is a concern over what could happen because of what did happen. So being able to say, it's like, you know what? Where I'm at, I will find peace with where I'm at in this moment. Because maybe in this moment I don't have the power to change it. And there are things I do have the power to change, which is how I perceive it. In this moment, this is what I'm experiencing. It's not going to be what I always experience, and it's not what I have always experienced. But this is that moment. This is what I'm going through right now. What do I want to do with it? How do I want to manage this? What do I want to get out of this? And what do I need to do to make that happen? What do I need to give up in my life that may be standing in my way? And most often, the thing that we struggle most with letting go of in our life is our perceptions, are the stories that we've attached to something. And the question is, can we write a new story? Let's see. Would the inverse of that be dreams of a dream of sorts? Well, a visualization. Yeah, my sister has asthma, and she felt like the first one for a long time. Yep. And the thing is, she didn't feel that way always. It's just frustrating how I can't do anything about it, and yet it's not good enough for others and plausibly not for me either. And I don't think those stories of it never being enough is healthy, because I know I truly tried, and yet I can't help if the resources of those demands don't meet the needs to try to adjust. Like, how can you advocate for yourself on resources that are not available? Well, the assumption that because they're not available now that they will never be. There's a lot of resources that come up. So part of that is staying very educated on what are new resources coming out, what is available. And, the idea of what others may or may not believe, you don't know. Honestly, nobody knows what is going on in someone else's mind. We don't know what motivates other people. We can create a story based on how they act, what we believe is going on in their heads, but we honestly don't know. And frankly, as far as I'm concerned, it's kind of a waste. The only time I care to invest in what somebody else might be thinking of me is if it's someone who I respect, if it's someone whose opinion of me matters, and if they say, hey, we need to talk, we need to talk about how you've been acting, I'm going to pay attention to that. If it's not somebody I respect, if it's not somebody who is directly involved in my life, I could care less what they think. They can do their own thing. They can do their own thoughts. And it is about, what is it, again, dividing what you know from what you believe. And that can be a really hard thing, because a lot of times we believe we know stuff when we don't. And I had to learn that, really the hard way. Is, I was so certain that certain people held a particular opinion, and it turned out I was really wrong. But that was the story I created. What is it that we're creating based on fact? Opinion is not fact. Belief is not fact. Fact is the stuff that we've done, and while certain people in the past may have reacted to us in a particular way, that does not mean that everybody feels that way. It does not mean we can even assume. If we've had, if somebody's had a bad experience with a doctor, it doesn't mean that all doctors are going to be reactive in that way. And I had to deal with that, because there were a lot of people who've been hurt by chiropractors. And when they come and see me, I can tell that they have an issue. And I know it's like, okay, we need to have a conversation about this. And Sergeant Electra has redeemed. Add a hat, add a hat, add a hat, add a hat, hat. What hat are we going to add? Let us add, we can add the Twitch hat. Okay. Ah! Yes, you guys have always wondered how many hats I have. The world may never know. But we've got a lot of hats going on. And we've got... There's the purple one. There it is. Perfect. Okay. I could spend forever trying to look up resources and not live life, or I give up so I can live life and enjoy what I can. And who says that you can't do both? I mean, if you're researching a game that you like, you can do that. Looking up resources is just a matter of, current information on this. Checking the news. It doesn't have to be sitting and plugged into a computer all day. It can, be like 15 minutes a day, looking to see if there's, Google a topic and see what's out there. We spend more time playing a game than that. We spend more time researching games than that. If, when we go to like those little wiki things and, it's like, wait a minute, how do I get out of this particular thing? Where do I find this? So the idea of the fact that it's not that we have to research, but that we get to. Research was a huge part of my work. Did I have to do it? No. But I wanted to be able to have current information, because there's a lot of people who don't have information, who don't have current information, and they're out there making assumptions based on what was as opposed to what is. And there's always new stuff coming out. There are forums, and talking on just checking out certain forums for saying, it's like, oh, wow, I had somebody who had developed an illness, and I said, look, I gave them the names of some forums and some university studies. So that way it's like, oh, wow, yeah, I've got this. I can, and then they can get support by contacting people who also, and that's the best part about going to things like forums and, sites that are focused on people who have a particular condition, because that, you don't have to do all the research on your own. They've been doing research. Everybody does research. So, yeah, it is living life, and the thing is, you're living life anyway. Being able to gain an information to say, well, there are no resources, that is something that is a belief. It's not known. It's not a fact. And maybe after you research it, it's like, well, as of today, that is a fact. Next month, that information could change. So it's just a matter of being able to, every once in a while, just check on, check what's happening in the world, check what's happening in that particular field, because every single day new stuff comes out. And, It's a commitment, but the thing is, it's like, it's something that ultimately can serve. So, it's like when I tell my patients, it's like, well, you can do these stretches. Oh, well, what's the point of doing the stretches? I said, so you don't want to feel better. Because if you don't do the stretches, you don't improve any. And what are we doing here? If you want to see change, we have to become participants in it. We can't just sit back and, I've had patients who want to just sit back and go, well, can't you just adjust me and have the pain go away? And I said, well, I can, but the thing is, if you keep doing the thing that you are doing that is creating the pain, it's going to come back. So that idea of being proactivity is a very empowering thing. When we start adding to that list of things we know and taking away from that list of what we believe, and it doesn't mean that, what we believe needs to go away. I mean, belief is a wonderful, beautiful thing. And we always should have a vision of something that, can't be proven, because there's always things in life that can't be proven. And I think that's a fun thing, that mysterious sort of thing. I don't know why it happens, but it happens. And being able to increase what we know when we make a decision, is it based on fact? Is it based on the best information we have? Which means finding out the best information. And actually, it can be actually fun. I used to have fun researching. It's shocking how much you can hide behind a tie and a nice smile. That is true, and it is also shocking how many people aren't fooling anyone. How many people, they have the tie and the nice smile, and there are others going, I see you. I see you. And most people don't realize they're nowhere near as good an actor as they think they are. Oh, and he's on stage 2 baby food and a full bottle. Nice. Still can. How many licks does it take to reach the center of a Tootsie Pop? The world may never know. I remember when that commercial came out. Mr. Owl. And, oh my God, and there was actually, things where people were actually counting how many licks it took to get to the center of the Tootsie Pop. And, I mean, we didn't have the internet. We had 3 TV channels. We had to find ways to amuse ourselves. So, yes, there were kids who were actually counting how many licks it took them to get to the center of the Tootsie Pop. We were bored a lot. Because clearly my time invested isn't paying enough to feel justifiable, unfortunately. Yep. Well, then the choice becomes, do you reduce your what you're investing in it, or do you increase it? But I mean, and ultimately everybody has to decide that for themselves. Where are they in that? And if they're okay with where they're at, you can just do the same thing. If you're not okay, then the choices are become okay or do something different. So, but it's up to everybody. I didn't hear because of an ad popping up. Oh, with the last message I sent. Oh, the one about the stage 2 baby food and full bottle. Nice. Boy, the next thing you know is going to be, I want pizza. Too many licks. Yep. Do we know how many it takes? My sister did it. Oh my God. I mean, it was like 1,600 and something. My sister actually did it. My sister was someone who definitely, she was very, very left brain. I mean, okay, when we were little and we had, it's like we were watching Star Trek. My older brother was Kirk because he was the oldest. My older sister was Spock because she could be tremendously logical. She actually learned how to play 3D chess. She could take a puzzle and, within an hour, she's got it undone and, and it's all, but she was very, very logical. My younger brother was Scotty because he loved working with the engines, and I was Uhura, communication specialist, which was interesting because then I started to stutter and went through a whole thing like that. But Uhura was always my favorite. Holy crap, 1,000. Yep, my sister sat and counted over, because it was like 1,600 and something licks to get to the Tootsie Roll center of a Tootsie Pop. But the whole thing is, it wasn't just getting to it, because we determined, okay, if it has to be where there's nothing but the chocolate left and you have to get all of the candy off of it. It was interesting. It was quite interesting. But yes, we were so bored in the 1960s and 70s. It was about, putting pennies on a railroad track just so they would get squished and you could have a squished penny, or putting a nail on it and you'd have a squished nail, or going out and looking for lizards, or seeing who could stare at the sun longest. We just had a lot of things that, we had to make up stuff to amuse ourselves. Making go-karts. Okay, anybody who fist bump, high five, ask your parents or grandparents about making a go-kart, which basically you had to either have an old radio flyer wagon, fist bump, high five for anybody who remembers radio flyer wagons, an old radio flyer wagon, or a baby stroller, which, some would call a pram, and you get the tires off that, and then you hook them up, and then you had to have a box. You had to have like a wooden box. And usually, back in the old days of stuff being shipped, you get a wooden box, and then you had to have a plank, and then you had to have two smaller pieces of wood that you could hook the wheels to, and then you had to have like a giant screw that, would allow the wheels to go like this in the front. Oh my gosh, making go-karts. That was go-karts, stilts, and playing with pogo sticks. Doing algebra with candy, lol. I think something that would help some people in here is learning about mental diffusion. I learned about this from my therapist. It's a bunch of methods used to separate your intrusive thoughts to make your outlook on life better. Cool. Being able to separate those intrusive thoughts that might ruin your day or life, allowing you to enjoy it more and increase your mental health stability. Snoring Bush, please put that in inspiring thoughts. The sun can make you go blind from what I hear. Yes, it can, but we were bored. I know how to do that. Use one long lick using the motorized lollipop holder. Oh, my goodness gracious, great balls of fire. This was life in the 60s. Playing hopscotch, and like I said, if any kid in the neighborhood had a pogo stick, you were a very popular kid in the neighborhood, because suddenly there would be a pogo stick, stilts, or making a go-kart. When we had that going on anywhere in the neighborhood, it's like every kid in the neighborhood found out about it. It's like, hey, Joey just got a pogo stick. And we would all go there, and everybody would be crowding around watching the kid go on the pogo stick, everybody waiting for their turn. And it was like, can I use it? Can I use it? And we would all line up, and everybody would get a turn. It was sort of like, playing pinball, and when you put your quarter up on the pinball machine. And see, that was the universal sign. Those of you who may or may not have been a part of that world, the universal sign of being next was when you would put your quarter on the corner of the pinball machine. And what that did, that was also a sign that that person would give up the machine at the end of the game that they were playing. So it was kind of an unspoken agreement, where, if you were playing a pinball machine and somebody came up and put their quarter on the front corner edge, you were kind of honor bound that when you finished that, you gave up the machine. And then you went and played something else, or went and ate the tremendously bad miniature golf pizza. Oh my gosh. It's like, some people would say pizza's pizza. First off, if that's what somebody believes, they've never been to New York. Second, pizza is not pizza, because there's some really bad pizza. Oh my god, that miniature golf pizza was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. But, we ate it. 60s cars were amazing. Yes. Many things from the 60s were amazing. I've done it within 66 licks just to get the chocolate, not including biting the candy off too. Yep, there is that thing, you reach that point where you want to bite off the candy. I remember the homemade go-karts. Me and my cousin broke our collarbones riding them. Yes, and especially if you lived in a place that had a slope. Any road that was at a slope, or if, you had like somebody who had a driveway that kind of came down and curved. Oh yes, it was, some pizza is so bad it would make the Italians cry. Yes, we had a massive hill on our ranch. Oh yeah, yep. And I mean, at the most, if it was a seat belt, that meant there was a rope that, you put around the seat because, okay, so the seat was usually either an old lawn chair, or you would just take a piece of wood, nail another piece of wood to it, and go and steal a pillow from inside, and you would put the two pillows on there, and that was the seat. And so your seat belt was, you would take a piece of rope or a large belt, and you would tie yourself to the seat, which never worked. I've never broken a bone in my life. I will knock wood for you, my dear. There's nothing like tempting fate. I just reached 100% of the Tycoon game, going to Rebirth soon for more perks and profits later on. Cool. Pull left rope to go left, pull right rope to go right. A lawn chair for a seat. Yes. I grew up in the city, so lots of random potholes with my first motorcycle, and man, my junk hurt so bad. Yes, in different places, it's like, if you grow up sort of in a more rural area, yeah, you had roads that didn't have a whole lot of people on them, where, you'd be playing games, we'd be playing softball out on the road, and there'd be the kid who would yell when a car was coming, and then everybody gets off the road, and, the person goes through, and, and then everybody comes back out. I mean, this was life in the 60s and early 70s. It was, roller skating on the street. It was setting up lemonade stands. It was, in some ways it was simpler, in some ways it was more complicated. And we all lived in the moment because there was no internet. There was no information. And we didn't even have that much television. You sit and had a couple of shows. There was, your moms watched soap operas during the day, and then when your dad got home, it was the 6 o'clock news, and maybe some game shows, and Marlon Perkins' Wild Kingdom. Actually, that was usually on the weekends. Marlon Perkins' Wild Kingdom actually came on after all of the westerns that were early on Sunday, which was after David and Goliath. Fist bump, high five if you remember David and Goliath. But, it's like claymation. Gumby. We watched Gumby in the mornings. Saturdays was cartoons. And, oh my God. Okay. This was a thing back in the day. In the fall, all of the fall premiere and the TV guide. Oh, fist bump, high five if you had a TV guide. If you grew up with a TV guide, ask your parents or grandparents about the TV guide. The TV guide, once we did get more than 3 channels, that was what told you everything. And the most exciting TV guides were the ones that had the fall premieres, because all the new TV, like the TV shows, and especially in the fall, you had the premiere of all the new Saturday morning cartoons. And the night before, that Friday night, would be the premiere of all of the premiere episode of all of the cartoons and TV shows and stuff like that. And that was so exciting because, well, and we had to all agree because there was NBC, CBS, and ABC. That was it. And, well, there was PBS. So that was an added channel, but, and that was still during the time that TV was only during the day and up to midnight. At midnight, TV shut off. But, we had to actually pick because we only had the one TV, and we had to figure out which premieres we were going to watch, and we all had to agree because we couldn't fight over it. So, but oh my gosh, ask your elders about watching the previews of the fall Saturday morning lineup. Modern remotes have a guide button. Yep. I played street baseball as a boy in the early 2000s. Lots of fun until the ball goes into a window. Yep, that was a thing. And, we played stuff. Let's see. Oh, wait a minute. Snoring. Oh, you had something with a period. It thought you were trying to put in a link. Little did my uncle and grandfather know about those go-karts. They had created an adrenaline junkie who just chases the next boost. Yes. I remember me and my rigging a huge tire swing. Oh my God, tire swings. Over that same massive hill. Okay, so you put hill period IT. And so what it thought was that you were putting in a link. So it highlighted it. It was like you were flying, you were so high up. Yep. I'm a huge adrenaline junkie. Yep. And the thing is that we, back then, it wasn't even really about adrenaline. It was just like, we're bored, and yeah, you set up a whole bunch of hopscotch on the sidewalk, or you play jacks, or you play marbles. We were always trying to figure out something to occupy ourselves. And, my phone cuts off the text box, so I can't always see the punctuation. Yeah. And, for us, it was just like, okay, we build a go-kart. That's fun for a while. But then we get bored again. And, then it would be time to go home and have dinner. And especially like during the summer, it'd be like, okay, what do you want to do? It's like, well, we can go down into the high school and for a quarter we can swim for 4 hours or play in the water for 4 hours. You had those, we would have like sprinklers and you play in the sprinkler, out in the front yard. Or if your family was really, really hip, you got one of those little wading pools that, the sides fold in and then you unfold the sides and you fill it with water and then it makes that big circle patch by the end of summer. I remember going to jump school. I was terrified at first, and then you come to love it. Such a rush. Yep. As someone who has actually jumped out of a perfectly functioning aircraft, it's cool. It's fun. Just make sure that, you take care of your ears, because that was the only downfall, was that the sudden and immediate change in pressure. It's like when you're on a plane and you get that inner ear ache. For me, it's like, and what I was told is that you can put earplugs in, or you can take like an antihistamine beforehand. Is it true that if you don't jump, the instructor pushes you? If you don't jump, well, if you are in jump school, yes. And there may be some laws. Technically, technically, they may not be allowed to do that anymore, because there's been a lot of changes. It's like in the military now, technically, they're not supposed to punish you physically the way they did. I mean, because when my dad was in the military in 1949, and it was okay for them to just flat out hit you. Technically, you're not supposed to do that now. I know that for the jump that I did, if somebody flat out said they didn't want to jump, technically you couldn't make them jump. But, as far as the military, they may still do that. They came up with stuff like go sweep the rain. But, yeah, it is, there's a lot of things. And, and sometimes, adrenaline stuff like that, bungee jumping, all of that stuff. And the difficult side to that is when you can no longer be content without it. It's like, yeah, I jumped out of a plane. It was cool. Probably won't do it again. I've been to the heart of the Amazon, drove across country. I mean, there was like a little bit of adrenaline with that. The idea of me driving alone across country. Just a little round brown woman and the rest of the nation. And yeah, bad stuff could have happened. But the thing is that when we can balance that, when we can enjoy that adrenaline and then go, oh, well, that was a cool time. But then we can very comfortably be in a calm, gentle life. So when you lose the ability, when you become addicted to the adrenaline, and that has to be backed off at some point, because the problem is that the adrenaline, it takes more and more and more, and that's when dangerous things happen. That's when folks get killed. And the sad thing is that often them seeking that adrenaline can affect other people. And it's like, yeah. Let's see. My brother wants to go diving with sharks without a cage. I'm like, do you not value? I mean, and there are oceanographers who have swum. I mean, you can swim with sharks. There's a lot of people who swim with sharks, who study them. And the sharks, you don't have to have a cage. Now, if sharks are in a feeding frenzy, you probably want to be either below where they're at. If you're below where they're at and you can, record them from the bottom. But, I mean, generally, sharks don't just, they're not just eaters. They're very often when sharks are just out there chilling. So, yeah, you can go diving without a cage, depending on what types of shark they are. We use the Contax 3s, so all of our ear protection auto sync up so we can hear each other perfectly, but when loud sounds happen, they will cut it out so we can communicate. We have a jump master who gives us a count on ETA to jump. When you halo jump, high altitude, low opening, for those of you who think that it has something to do with Master Chief. You jump immediately as close together as we can. You link up in the air, and then when you see the disperse signal, you spread apart and pull the chute. Yep. High altitude, low opening is probably, that's like, okay, that's where the adrenaline kicks in, because, there is that, that distance from the earth, and I do know this. I jumped from 15,000 feet. I fell for 10,000 feet, and I really wasn't aware. I'm looking down at the earth, and it's like I really couldn't tell that I was getting that close to it. And somewhere around 5,000 feet, when, right before the chute went, all of a sudden I'm looking, and all of a sudden it's like the earth is rushing up at me, and that's when they opened the chute. So, basically we had the chute for the last 5,000 feet. But, yes, that is a thing. And you have a backup chute just in case. Yeah, but sharks are attracted to the vibration of swimming, if I remember correctly. It depends. And sometimes they don't give a rat's patoot about swimmers and stuff. There's been a lot of cases where swimmers have been swimming in water and there's sharks around and the sharks don't do a thing. They're aware of it. And certain things, like if they're hungry and the vibration in the water is similar to that of a seal, let's say. Or, it's like if you've got a surfer who's on a board and, they've got their arms and legs off the edge of the board, from underneath, a shark observing that is going to think it's a seal. So, there's a lot of ways that sea creatures perceive the world around them because you can't always see. Now that little man has had a bath and been fed, time to clean. Oh, yes. Electra, fist bump high five, you're bringing back a lot of memories. And I don't remember where I've heard this, but they're attracted to certain colors, too. Yes, yellow being one of the main colors that sharks are attracted to. In fact, they called it yum yum yellow. So, yeah, that is, I believe, because, okay, I remember when the movie Jaws came out. The movie Jaws came out the summer that I was taking swim lessons at the local pool. I was thoroughly convinced that there were sharks in the pool. I could stand at the side of the pool, look down, and know that there were no sharks in there. I saw the movie Jaws, and I was thoroughly convinced that, because we had to be able to jump off the high dive. And when I jumped off the high dive and I was totally underwater, and it was on at the deep end, it was like 12 feet. And I go down, I was thoroughly convinced there was a shark in there somewhere that I couldn't see. So, yeah. We do. It's on our chest with a gear bag between our legs. And if we halo jump, we are so high up that we can't breathe. So we also have to keep an oxygen tank in the chest. Yes. I mean, and high altitude, that is a very long way to drop. And, you know, it's, you know, designed as a, you know, a covert action type of thing. But yeah, you know, snoring bush, fist bump, high five. That is some hardcore stuff. Nice. You know, it's like I had to quit for today on the Tycoon game I was on because there was this one person who was a little too happy to get in my base with my semi-antisocial nature. I was like, I built a base around me literally in the game for a reason. If they choose to ignore it, then it's not my fault, then onwards. Yep. Isn't altitude sickness a thing too? Well, not for, you know, if you're doing halo jumps, it's different. Now, altitude sickness is very real. And generally, what it is, it's about going from a lower altitude to a higher altitude because there's a change in pressure and all of that stuff. So if you are mountain climbing, generally at every 1,000 feet, you're supposed to stop and stay there for a certain amount of time. You know, it's sort of like allowing your body to acclimate to the pressure that's currently there. It's the same reason why, you know, deep divers have to come up to a certain level and then they have to stay there. And because otherwise, if, you know, they come straight up, they get the bends. So, you know, it's such a nice view, though. That is true. It's designed to fly high enough we evade radar and dive straight through it and open low enough that it can't see us. Yeah, it's really fun when the ramp opens. You can see the curvature of the earth, and it's so beautiful. It is nice. It is. I mean, I recommend that, you know, most people try it at least once. And you can do like a tandem jump, so, you know, you don't have to worry about being in charge of everything. You know, how do they teach that? Oh, over a very long amount of time. You study for quite a while. There's a lot to learn in that. For something that basically does not take a long span of time, there's a lot to learn about that. And, you know, and you learn a lot about the human anatomy. Because you know, you have to know, and especially things like, you know, the oxygen. What is the breathing rate? How are you supposed to manage that? It's you know, like if you're learning how to fly a fighter jet, you have to know human anatomy and the effects of pressure on it better than almost anybody else does. So learning to be able to, you know, do something like, you know, or even if you're just doing skydiving just by itself, there's a lot to learn. It's not just, you know, jump out and count to 10 and pull a string. There's a lot involved in that. And I think that once people have a chance to do it and they can appreciate all that goes into it, but yeah, you know, and Snoring Bush has been, you know, he has studied for a long time learning how to do stuff, because it's not just knowing how to do it, it's how to do it safely, how to do it, you know, how to do it appropriately. Because see, the whole point, well, it didn't ding you for it though. The whole point is, it's not about the jump, it's about what follows the jump. The jump is how you get there, but once you land, you have to know how to land in a way that you can get up and do your mission. So it is about, it's you know, it's not so much, it's like how to do the jump, and that's a whole big thing in itself. But it is about the fact that the jump isn't, you know, you don't just, it's like, oh, okay, I did the jump, time to go home. It's like, no, you've got a job to do once you land, and you have to be able to do it like that. So, yeah. It's long. Jump school to learn to static line jump. They teach you procedures and protocols. Then you work up slowly over time until you hit your first SOF unit. You probably won't halo, and I only started doing it when I hit green team. It's a long process to learn to halo jump. Dang punctuation. And it's good to know human anatomy to learn all the red flags so they can do the best, avoiding the best as possible. Exactly. You have to be a certain distance below the plane or the engine becomes a problem. Yeah, landing improperly can disable you for life if done wrong. Once you land, you have to gather, stash your chute, put your assault pack on, and get going. Yeah. I mean, because it is. The jump is just how you got there. And then the real work starts, your mission. And if you jump in a way that causes you to become a liability to your mission, that is not taken very well. That can get folks into some serious trouble. And the idea that, and the thing is, that's something that there is wisdom in that we can all take into our daily lives. Maybe we don't all do, halo jumping or anything like that. But the thing is that realizing if I don't have all the information I need and I just act impulsively, I need to be able to, what is the next step after that? And the one after that, and the one after that, and the one after that. Yeah, look before you leap, exactly. And consider what is there. And be able to have a plan for step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, and, knowing what your ultimate goal is and what are the steps you need to do, and that each one of those steps needs to be able to be successful. It needs to be able to be something that we can move forward with. That, like I say, the finish line is the starting line for the next race. And so it's like, okay, I've gotten to here. Now I've got to do something else. Now I've got to, and it really comes down to information. It comes down to knowledge. It comes down to training. It comes down to being able to go, oh, okay, I know what to do. Once this is complete, here's the next step. And I mean, we do that in gaming all the time, do we not? We do that in gaming all of the time. And especially when, it's like maybe it's a game you've played a few times and you're kind of familiar with it, but, you're going through something and it's like, oh, okay, all right, this is the part where that one really weird boss comes around the corner and I've got to wait for a second because, I've got to make sure I heal up before or initiate my spells before I go around that corner because I know that boss is sitting there and it's going to be just horrible. So as opposed to somebody who just goes barreling through each section of the game and ends up having to start over like 1,001 times because they don't take time to go, oh, okay, this is what I'm expecting. This is what's ahead of me. I need to be aware of that. And I need to have a plan for that. I need a plan that will take me past it. And whether maybe it's a work project, maybe it's, dealing something with your kids, maybe it's dealing with a relationship issue, maybe it's relocating, maybe it's changing your career, or maybe it's that you are facing a physical hardship, or a health concern that suddenly comes up, and you have to be able to manage that in a good way and go, okay, where do I go from here? How do I move forward? What gets me to the goal I want? And having that goal clearly in mind. Let's see. I was considering a military career, but with my knees, I don't think I'd make it without a waiver. Yep. Or something along those lines. This is why we plan things ourselves. Ding, ding, ding. We know what we're capable of better than others, and information is key. The reason the U.S. has so many successful missions is that because of the asymmetrical warfare advantage we have. More information, more power, 100%. Officers are generally responsible for a basic plan. Kind of. Usually it is, there is a chain of command. But the thing is, in most cases, the officers aren't the ones who are there. You may be dealing with like a sergeant or if your unit is just out there on their own, you're on your own. Either that or, officers are quite often in the rear with the gear. So the idea that, the infantry, the cavalry, you're there on the front lines and there's a lot of decisions that get made there. No, we plan ourselves. Chain of command passes down the information and briefings, such as objectives and rules of engagement. We find the plan ourselves and collaborate with them. Yep. You know, it is when you're there on the front lines, and it's like, okay, now we're seeing the information straight on. Maybe there's been a change in the information that, you know, the commanders received. Maybe there's been a new development. And that means that, you know, those who are there in that moment, it's like, okay, either we need to change the plan or we need to adapt in some way. So it is about adapting. And sometimes you gotta kind of fly by the seat of your pants. But, you know, I mean, and my dad, like I said, he was 16 when he lied his way into the military in 1949. So he was a 16-year-old in Korea, in the Korean conflict. 16. And that is a very big, grown-up, scary situation to be in at 16. You know, he was surrounded by stuff that, and dealing with situations that he was never prepared for. But he found a way through. He found a way to manage it, and he found a way to survive. Let's see. Fortunately for me, my team handles most small-scale assaults and not very large-scale battles, so the freedom to plan is a lot easier as we aren't coordinating an army. We're coordinating a team, 6 to 12 people. True. Wasn't there a 12-year-old kid in the Navy in the World War era? Depends. I mean, if he was a really big 12-year-old, but, you know, I don't know. And that said, in different armies from around the world, depending on what their, you know, civilian population was, you know, historically, there were many armies that would, I mean, basically at 12, you know, like during the Civil War in the United States, 12 and 13-year-olds were handed weapons and told to go fight. And, you know, but that's just what he said, you know. I think he was in the U.S. Navy. I don't know. I couldn't, I mean, do I know that, like, in Korea, I mean, in Vietnam, the average age was 19. 19 was the average age of a soldier, which meant there were those who were under 19 who were there. Because if that's the average, is 19, that means you've got the section, you know, the numbers above it and the numbers below it. But depending, I mean, like I said, if it was a big 12-year-old, he might have been able to lie his way in. You know, there were a lot of young people who faked their, you know, including my own dad, who wanted, there was a very romanticized view of war. And there was a lot of, you know, it was considered a thing of civil pride. You know, Uncle Sam wants you. And there was a lot of you know, kind of, you know, there were authors who wrote about war from this, you know, from this viewpoint of it being, you know, exciting and the thing that made heroes and all of that. And a lot of young people went, and then they realized that they did not find out all of what war was. And that this overly romanticized kind of image of it, that there was a reality to it. And that was very hard. Speaking of Vietnam, there was a guy who delivered beer to his friend. There's a movie about it called The World's Longest Beer Run. Well, I'm not sure if that was a real thing. 5 Came Back is a good documentary. There's pride in fighting for freedom, but I wish war movies didn't try and make it cool, but instead showed the real side of it. Yeah. You know, it's not so romanticized. And it's like the old TV series MASH was something that they kind of went out of their way, which, you know, and at the time, that was a very, you know, it was kind of novel because it was one of the first TV series that was based around war and the Korean War, which, I mean, our parents, you know, my parents were in, or my dad was in. So the idea of humanizing it, both humanizing the enemy and and being able to talk about what the reality was there. So I mean, it was a wonderful series. The expectation of reality kicks their butt in that scenario. Yeah, and it is about the reality of it and sharing the reality. The Five Came Back is about directors that went to war. For example, Francis Ford Coppola. Yeah, I mean, Full Metal Jacket, and what was the other one? There was Platoon. Oh, the one with Corleone. Wait a minute. I'm blanking on the name of that. The war movie with Marlon Brando in it. Somebody help the boomer. Help the boomer. No, The Godfather. No, it was the war movie. Oh, I am so blanking on this. I need to find this out because it is going to be quite bothersome to me. War movie with Marlon. It was the one where it's like, I love the smell of napalm. Apocalypse Now. Apocalypse Now. That was by Francis Ford Coppola. Like, oh, I love the smell of napalm in the morning. Smells like victory. So, yeah. I feel bad when I deploy and see a kid that was like 19 or 20 years old. I feel like doing, joint stuff and helping them is like putting a kid in danger every time. Yeah. R. Lee Emery killed his role in Full Metal Jacket. Yeah. I mean, wasn't that line in Good Morning Vietnam? No, it was in a movie earlier that they made fun of that movie, or they said the line in Good Morning Vietnam, which was the Robin Williams movie. But yes, Apocalypse Now, which came out in 1979. That was preceded it by quite a bit. But yeah, I mean, if you have a chance and if you're interested, some of these older movies that, if you're interested in like, war history and things like that, there's a lot of actually very awesome films. The Longest Day, which was a very long movie, and it kind of got you, you got kind of pulled into it. Glory, which was a movie about the Civil War and black units in the Civil War. And, it is, there's a lot of very good movies that give that other side of it, that other perspective of it. And, and it is good to learn new things about the history of stuff. And the bridge to Remagen, can't spell it, actual name is a German bridge. I think it was a World War era. Yeah. I mean, go out and find something out about something you didn't know. If there's something you're interested in, find a movie that talks about it, or check out a documentary that gives the history of it. There's documentaries on everything now. But it never hurts. Speaking of work time, heading back, enough resting. Catch you later, Doc. Catch you later, Snoring Bush. And in fact, that is going to be our time for today. And Snoring Bush, thank you for that first person experience that you have and that wisdom that you can bring in. And, it is. Go out and find something out about something that you don't know about. Because, and especially if you're feeling kind of in a rut, if you're feeling kind of stuck, if the current reality is not very fun right now, the cool thing is that we can take little vacations from the current reality. And one of the best ways I know is to delve into gaining more information, seeing stories about something that interests you, and growing from that. Learning things, because anytime we acquire knowledge, it's got a ripple effect in our mind. It opens up possibilities, and we can tap into those things in order to deal with what we're dealing with in the current reality. Because it may be that the secret to the problem you're trying to solve is in some old documentary about something. And you're going to see something in that and it's like, oh, wait a minute. Something's clicking. So, video games are kind of a vacation from reality for me. Yeah. And, that is something that is created. But when you look at things that are a part of the history of humanity, old historical things, the way old politics, and how the world was viewed, the civil rights movement, the Woodstock, protests, and while, yeah, some of them can be very heavy, but other ones, they can, by learning about what it was that people did, how people viewed the world, what were their problem-solving things. Maybe they were good ideas, maybe they weren't good ideas. But how did people manage when they had significantly less than what we have now? And there's something very cool about that. So, take a step out, read a classic and kind of, put yourself in the place of that lead role. Because sometimes working through the problems of a hero in a book can be surprisingly helpful in figuring out stuff we want to do now. Camrom 97, hello, my dear. You came in just as we are leaving. So, everybody, thank you so much for being here, for hanging out. Go grab yourself a classic, whether it's a music, well, it could be a musical, or a book, or a movie. See something that was pre-color, maybe an old black and white movie or an old documentary, old newsreels. I mean, they're all in the World Wide Webiverse. So, we will be back tomorrow, and same bat time, same bat channel, fist bump high five for anybody who remembers that reference. And if you need to reach me, you can do so through Twitch, you can do so through Twitter, and you can do so through the Discord. Thank you so much for everybody who is hanging out in the Loving Lurkers Lounge, everybody who is tuned in and has been a part of the conversation. And, especially thank you for all of those who are supporting the channel through subs and bits and donations. Thank you so much for that, because you guys are getting me, closer to that point where I can be able to do this full time. I mean, 6 hours a day, almost every day. I think that would be a lot of fun. And if I could do that as my job, that would be awesome. That's my goal. And so that's what we're working towards. And thank you to everybody who's helping me move up towards that. Thank you to my wonderful, amazing mods. Thank you to everybody who thinks that, the old lady may be a little weird, but is kind of cool and drops a follow. And make sure that you're taking care of yourselves, and make sure that you're putting your air mask on first. Everybody has their issues. They can figure that out. Let them. You do you. You focus on you. When you've got all your stuff together, then you can go out and save the world. But make sure that you're taking care of yourself first. So, on behalf of Arby, Yoda, Animal, and Gerald the Christmas Cactus, thank you. Please remember that your life will follow your choices. So make sure you're choosing things that move you forward, not choosing things that hold you back. Please remember that your choices are your choices. If somebody else wants to choose something different, love it for them. You don't have to love it for you. And just because you have a right to others' opinions doesn't mean you have an obligation to them. And please remember that you are the only you in all the universe. You're the only you that's ever been, and the only you that will ever be. And what that does is it makes you special, it makes you sacred, and most of all, it makes you necessary. Okay, can we do this? Because, yes, as the only you in all of the universe wouldn't be the same or complete without you. So everyone, have an amazing morning, afternoon, evening, or night, whichever applies to you. We'll see you next time. See you tomorrow. And as always, I wish you balance and I wish you blessings. From my heart to yours. So have a good day. Learn something new. I'm proud of you, and I love you. Alrighty, so the love train is pulling out of the station. It will be back tomorrow. Take care, hugs, and whoop whoop!